people will walk all over you until you can no longer breathe. And it happens to so many individuals who have never had any self-respect to say no. When I was younger, I always used to go with the flow of everybody else and, just agree to do what everybody else wanted to do. I was a very shy kid growing up, and I could always tell people viewed me as weak and someone they could try to take advantage of. This destroyed me emotionally because I had become someone who always wanted to keep the mood light and couldn't face being my genuine self because I didn't want people to be disappointed in me or not like the real me for showing my true self. I basically never wanted to be in any conflict whatsoever, and this was mainly with my friends and the people who I really cared about, because I didn't want the people who I had already built and established a relationship with to not like me anymore or think I had changed in any sort of way. I wanted to be the same version of myself I had been for them for the foreseeable future. And basically what this did is it sent me into a really dark mental state in high school, just throughout high school, where I almost ended up taking my own life. And I'll go over that briefly for now, but I can mention that in a future video. But pretty much just in social settings, I always was perceived the same, and I would always try to perceive myself as like the very light and goofy individual, just so because I felt like if I did that I would get more attention and people would like me more, instead of just being my true, authentic, down-to-earth self. Because whenever I was that way, I wouldn't really, people wouldn't find me as entertaining. People wouldn't find me, to be as approachable, or, they wouldn't want to take the time to actually get to know me. Whereas when I was this version of myself that was very just goofy and all over the place and had this giant quirky aesthetic to me, I felt like I was able to socialize with people better and make connections better. I was very, very wrong. And the reason I was very wrong is because when you act as a version of yourself that isn't really you, you start to attract people who you don't even want to hang out with, or you don't even want to be friends with. Like, there was a few days in my junior year of high school where I pretty much was just reflecting on how my social status was, and I was talking to myself and pretty much just saying hey, I'm just kind of being an idiot and looking like a joke for people who wouldn't ever help me out in a situation if I needed it. So that kind of sent me into a mental spiral, because I'm kind of thinking, will anybody ever appreciate me or think I'm worth it without me having to pretend? And at the time I thought, no, there is no way. And this destroyed me. It made me just have these horrible thoughts. I was working at the time, and I got off my shift around midnight. There was a school day the next day, and I knew I was not going to be able to get the adequate amount of sleep I would be able to get. So I was just fuck it. And I was driving to end everything. And I remember getting a call or some sort of text or something that made me want to call out to somebody for one, final goodbye. And I ended up getting tracked down because I wasn't going back home. So I had people that cared about me, and more than I realized, and they ended up tracking my car down and taking me to a mental hospital the next day. And in the mental hospital, I spent about a week or so just sitting there, just doing random stuff, and then being rehabilitated for the next few months. But pretty much what I realized was living for other people was completely unsustainable, and it is something that I could no longer do, and it is something that you should no longer even think about. And that is something I changed once I finished high school and I entered college. I learned that not everybody will see you as somebody nice, and instead will see you as a tool or an object to use at their own will or convenience to get things from you. Don't ever let this be you. Don't ever let yourself be the person who is walked on, who is manipulated, who is, made to feel guilty. You should never, ever, if someone's ever trying to make you feel guilty, that person is not good for you. You should always strive to be a kind person, but I think as I'm working on improving my own routine, improving the way my outlook is in life, I'm becoming less of a nice person. And the difference of what that means is being nice is being, agreeable and on the surface when you're just meeting people for the first time, and you sacrifice your own values to kind of keep the peace and to get along with other people. But kindness is showing your true care for somebody deep down, and I reserve kindness for the people of my inner circle in my life who need it. But you should never go out of your way when it's going to affect you in a negative way to go help somebody else by being nice. For example, an example of this in college was I have this friend who his car is parked very far away and my car is parked pretty close to campus. So he usually will call me and ask me if I could drive him to his car. And that's a nice gesture. It's not some sort of kind, deep down gesture. I would do it the first few times, but I would always kind of feel bad if I ever refused. I'd always, because it's only a 5 to 10 minute thing, and I would always go out of my way to do it for the first few weeks he asked. But then I realized hey, if I have something going on, if I'm studying for something or if I'm at an event, there is no need for me to succumb to any sort of peer pressure or to any sort of unnecessary guilt to pretty much put myself in a situation where I am helping somebody else out. And I think that's one thing a lot of people need to learn. A lot of people are taught to, put others before yourself, be nice, treat others the way you want to be treated. I think what I've learned throughout life is to keep the people and really, really care about close to you, and never go out of your way to help anybody that you don't really know and you know probably wouldn't do the same for you. The main point I want you to take away from this is to prioritize yourself and stay true to yourself and your own goals, even if it means disappointing others, because in the end, your main goal is to become a better version of yourself, not become a shell of yourself at the cost of other people. Thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.